This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. October 10th is World Mental Health Day, and this year we're saying thank you, therapists. BetterHelp therapists have helped over 5 million people worldwide on their mental health journeys. That's millions of stories, millions of journeys, and behind every one is a therapist who showed up, listened, and helped someone take a step forward. Moments in therapy, like the right question, a safe space to cry, or a small win, can change lives. This World Mental Health Day, BetterHelp is honoring those connections and the therapists who make them possible, while showing how easy it is to get guidance from a licensed therapist online with BetterHelp. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. And it works with an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for a live session based on over 1.7 million client reviews. This World Mental Health Day, we're celebrating the therapists who've helped millions of people take a step forward. If you're ready to find the right therapist for you, BetterHelp can help you start that journey. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/PFF. That's betterhelp.com/PFF. Let's start off with the Friday night game that we're previewing. That is Louisville at number 2, Miami. Again, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Storylines to know is this is one of Miami's most difficult games remaining in the regular season. Miami's looked like one of the best teams in the country so far this year. They have a perfect 5-0 record, impressive wins over teams like Notre Dame, USF, Florida State, and Florida. Louisville, though, is one of the best teams remaining on Miami's schedule. You could argue them or SMU for the best team remaining on Miami's schedule. The Cardinals are not ranked right now, but they do have a 4-1 record this year. Their only loss is an overtime loss to number 18, Virginia, right now, too. And right now, Louisville is a top 25 team in PFF's power ranking. So if Miami is not going to go 12-0 this year, Louisville's probably one of those likely candidates to pull off an upset, but we'll see if they do, Dalton.
Yeah, no, on a Friday night on the road in Miami, with Miami off a bye week, obviously, if they're going to be well-rested and ready for this stretch run, because at this point, what we've seen from the Hurricanes, overall, you have a pretty decent-sized expectation that they could go undefeated for the regular season and possibly through the ACC title game. They've looked like clearly the best team in the ACC. They've looked like one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the country so far. They're very well-rounded. Their defense is even better than it was last year. Carson Beck has done a great job, but Louisville's got a lot of threats on their team. You talk about a receiver pair and Chris Bell and Colin Lacey that's really good. Isaac Brown in the backfield can hit a home run any play, and they've got a solid defense too. So I think there are going to be some matchups here that Miami's going to have to watch out for, even as the home favorite. But no, you're right. If they get through this one, you start to feel even better about their chances of finishing this regular season undefeated.
Definitely. So you have the Louisville offense. Both you and I will be talking about the trenches in this game, because that will be a huge matchup on both sides of the ball. But what should we know about Louisville's offense against Miami's defense?
And that's where it always starts with Miami, right? As you talk about in the trenches, how dominant they've been on the offensive and defensive line. You're going to talk about the offensive side of it, but I think when you talk about this Louisville offensive line and the way they've struggled early in the season, and this was a concern coming into the year, losing so many starters, having a lot of new guys rotate in there, hasn't really worked out so well so far for Louisville. They're 105th in the country in pass blocking grade. They are 117th in run blocking grade. Miller Moss in this offense, they're really trying to work around a blocking unit that has been struggling, but when Miller Moss is under pressure, just a 35 passing grade, very, very low mark when it comes to that category. So I think, and you saw that in the Virginia game in the second half when they lost, Virginia turned up the heat in the second half. The offensive line didn't have an answer, and honestly, even if you're going to help out with chip protections and things like that, Louisville's backs have really struggled to help in pass protection. They're kind of undersized. They're not the most aggressive guys in pass protection, so they're really going to have to play up to task here when it comes to Ruben Bain, the highest graded defender in the country. Akeem Mesidor is the 10th highest graded edge defender in the country. This Miami team, I mean, this is what you fear the most about them, more than Carson Beck and the weapons, and they got 2 great backs on offense as well. But if you can't block this defensive line to some extent, and we have seen nobody do it yet at all. Florida's got a great offensive line, couldn't do it. Notre Dame couldn't do it. USF, whoever else you want to name. Nobody's been able to block Miami yet, and Louisville's had a hard time blocking anybody. On paper, That's the biggest mismatch in this game. And if that's where Louisville is going to lose this battle, it could be a long night for Miller Moss and their offense.
Yeah, I think, on paper, Miami has a massive advantage over Louisville's offensive line. And also on paper, on the other side of the ball, it should be a war between Louisville and Miami. It's a much more even matchup on that side of the ball right now. Miami's overall dominance as a team this year can largely be attributed to their dominance on the offensive line and defensive line. Right now, they have a 79.9 offensive line grade this year. That's fourth among all offensive lines in college football. And they're one of 4 teams in the country to place inside the top 15 in both pass blocking grade and run blocking grade this year. And also, Carson Beck has done a really good job of taking advantage of those clean pockets. Right now, he's 21st in the nation with a 77% completion rate when he's kept clean in the pocket. But meanwhile, Louisville has the 3rd highest graded defensive line in the nation this year, only behind Texas Tech and, of course, Miami, who's number 2 right there. Louisville, 2nd best pressure rate in college football at about 47% this year, and they only allow 1 rushing yard before contact per attempt, which is 18th in the country. Edge rusher Clev Lubin's a great player. He's 4th in the nation right now among edge rushers in PFF grade. And Renee Conga, the D tackle, is also outstanding too. He's 8th among D tackles in PFF grades. So you have 2 defensive linemen for Louisville who are among the top 10 highest graded players at their position, going up against an elite Miami offensive line too. This should be one of the best trench matchups that we see all season.
Absolutely. Lubin's a stud. He was a stud at Coastal Carolina, and he's transferred to Louisville this year and been outstanding. One of the best pass rushers in the country. Conga on the inside's a really good run defender, too. He's going to be a big factor if they can slow down Mark Fletcher in this run game for the Hurricanes. A.J. Green's been really good. Keep an eye on Antonio Watts from kind of that safety slot position there, blitzing off the edge. So I think what you have with this Louisville pass rush, they're going to want to disturb Carson Beck, obviously, because we've talked about it ad nauseum. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country in a clean pocket. And he creates his own clean pockets. No Power 4 quarterback with at least 60 attempts has a quicker average time to throw than Carson Beck, 2.35 seconds. So there is going to be an element of this where Beck is going to have to speed up that process once again, as he does every week. And the good news is he's really good at processing defenses and getting rid of the football quickly. He's going to have to protect himself a little bit, but you're going to get an absolute war between the Hurricanes offensive line and the Cardinals defensive line. And both teams, these are 2 of the best defensive lines in the country.
Yeah.
That's going to be the most fun part of this game to watch.
Yeah, like I said, 2 of the 3 highest graded defensive lines that we have in all of college football right now. The only one above them is Texas Tech, who of course has a loaded defensive line that we'll talk about later in the show as well. Ultimately, Dalton, will Miami be upset and suffer their first loss of the season, or will the Hurricanes keep it rolling?
I don't think so. I think they have the right formula to get this done at home on a Friday night off of a bye week. The dominance in the trenches every week with Miami. It's one of the most consistent forces in college football right now on both sides, the offensive line, the defensive line. And then I think this is a game here with this level of pass rush, probably the best pass rush they're going to play all year, where having Carson Beck as your quarterback is so valuable, right? 3rd-year starter, quick release. I mentioned the very quick average time to throw. I think it's a perfect fit to just work around this D-line, even if Miami's offensive line struggles a bit, and it would help to get the run game going between the tackles with Mark Fletcher. So I do think also that their defensive line, look, Miami, they've shown to this point they're unblockable. So I'm not going to go in here and predict Miami's D-line to have a bad game. I think Ruben Bain is in for another big day. Akeem Mesidor is in for another big day. And Miller Moss under pressure, there's just not a lot of answers. He has to either get rid of the football right now or he's going to get sacked because he doesn't improvise and he doesn't have a big arm to throw off his back foot. So I like Miami here 28-13 to keep it rolling.
I have a 31-20 Miami as well. I do think Louisville's defensive line could give Carson Beck and Miami's offensive line some issues. And I do think Louisville has some really good weapons in that offense too, like Chris Bell, like Colin Lacey, like Isaac Brown, obviously at running back too. That could also present some problems for Miami as well. But I think ultimately Miami, as they've done pretty much every week this year, they're going to win this game off of their defensive line and right now the best player in college football in Ruben Bain Jr. So I think Miami wins this game by 2 scores, 31-20 over Louisville. But I do think Louisville might cover the 13.5 point spread that they have in this game on Friday night.